January 12th. I'm Jeremy Boren, GrayMatter's brand manager. We have a great presentation for you today. This is iFIX 2023 office hours. It's really a new concept that we're trying out this year. And the idea is to answer your questions, to get to really dig into the projects that you're working on with iFIX and to ask the experts. And we have a really cool lineup of folks today from GE Digital, Alec Granger, Prasad Pai, and Chad Smith as well from GE Digital. Guys, welcome. Good to see you today.
Good to be here.
Good to see everybody. So the idea today is that we're going to have a little bit of a presentation first from Alec, and he's going to talk about some of the features and updates to iFIX 2023. But we're going to devote the majority of our time to answering your questions. So I shared with you a presentation, a lot of you earlier, and we got some great questions already to go. But if you have some throughout today's talk, post them in the comments and we'll be able to share them with the group and really dig into those. So the more you ask, the more I think we'll get out of today's presentation. Just a couple of reminders. Check us out at graymattersystems.com. You can find more events like this one, and the dates that are coming up for those are all listed on there. We also offer GE certified training as well, and those classes, they're pretty involved, multi-day training sessions. If you don't know about them, check them out. We have them for iFIX, for Historian, for a lot of the products in GE. So you can sign up and learn more there as well. So do check that out. And then just again, a reminder for those just joining in, logging in, do post your questions in the comments. We really want to make the office hours concept valuable to you. So with that, I'll turn things over to Alec.
Excellent. Thanks, Jeremy. I appreciate everybody joining. As Jerry mentioned, I'm just going to do maybe about 15 or so minutes here, just quickly step you through some of the presentation that Jeremy sent out prior to this meeting, just to make sure that everybody's on the same page before we have our discussion. So with that, let's go ahead and get started and kick you right off here. Just mention a safe harbor. Obviously, we haven't released yet. Pretty much everything is set in stone as it is, but I just wanted to mention that at the front here, just in case there are some small tweaks to finality of what you see today. So quickly step through some of the key release capabilities that are just going to be foundational to understanding the rest of 2023. This is some of our development timeline. In 6.1, we released OPC UA, so that's a foundational thing, of course, for everything that we're doing going forward. We had high performance dynamos, some alarm shelving capabilities. 6.5 was really the introduction of our major theme around centralized management. That was the introduction of Configuration Hub for both iFIX and Historian. And then Configuration Hub stretching out to the rest of the portfolio is what you'll kind of see in the next couple of slides as well too. It added in concurrent development, which you'll see as well, some modeling approach, object orientation. In 2022, we pushed forward on the centralized management themes with substitution and expression support, adding prophecy authentication as well too for Historian, iFIX, and Ops Hub, as well as the prophecy installer. And then with 2023, of course, continuing along those journeys with full iFIX project configurational capability and project component deployment, as well as some additions to enhanced failover as well. So looking here, just a visual reference to what our overall vision for centralized management and configuration is Configuration Hub sits right in the middle, not a separately saleable product. It is a web-based configuration utility that reaches into the visualization layer, with Operations Hub being our one visualization from machine level all the way to enterprise level. And then you have one security area and prophecy authentication, stretching again everywhere that it needs to and touching into the various different components in our prophecy portfolio. And then Configuration Hub being able to reach directly into the various different SCADA, client, and Historian nodes that are attached to a certain system and architecture. So I hope that gives you an idea. So from one area being able to configure and deploy, backup, update, restore in one area, that's their vision. The common model vision, much like that as well too, you have one area you set up from a model perspective around equipment or even a facility, graphical elements, tag structure, hierarchical, of course, supported there, the links as far as getting data in and out, what things will be historized, and the alarm structure would all be set up there from a common model approach. And then as you bring a new instance online, that will automatically set up all the various different elements associated with that model around the equipment, ultimately allowing us to get to market faster there with a final solution. Because Configuration Hub is web-based, we do allow for concurrent development. So it's a very powerful tool for multiple people to work on together and ultimately get to market faster. Just highlighting here, Prophecy Authentication, it allows single sign-on across our portfolio. It also supports multi-factor authentication and nested Active Directory support, as well as LDAP support is built into this as well. All done within Configuration Hub. The Prophecy Installer was a key step as well too that we introduced in iFIX 2022. That is a unified installation approach there to updating our various different nodes, and ultimately we're pushing for in iFIX 2024 coming up, which would be ultimately having a ability from a centralized place in Configuration Hub to update the various nodes. So this was why this was a major step for us, simplifying the installation process, installing multiple components together in the right steps, and ultimately cutting down the time it takes to update. So with that, let's jump into 2023, quickly highlight some of the things that you guys saw in the presentation. So the connected worker story is really around making sure that the right level of information is available to the right person in the organization to make the right decisions at the right time. So really you're talking about persona-based visualizational capability, that the right level of information is available for them based off of them signing into our portfolio through Prophecy Authentication. So with Operations Hub, that's the tool that allows us to be able to do that it has the necessary capabilities to connect through OPC-UA, MQTT, REST, SQL, or what have you, to the various different parts of our portfolio, as well as unify things from enterprise level information as well to be able to centralize that in a visual way that can be, again, utilized by multiple different people in the organization. And based off of them coming in there with the right level of authentication, based off of their persona, they'll see the information that they need that's relevant to their position to make the right decisions. So whether that's KPIs, dashboards, or if that's really, a full machine layout there on the plant floor, the right level of visualization is capable there within Operations Hub. So with Operations Hub in 2023, this is our first foray into bringing HMI level visualization there for our SCADAs, both iFIX and Simplicity. So with Operations Hub now stretching down to the HMI layer, it is SVG based. So it is a scalable vector graphics. So you set up the screen one time and it's going to automatically scale based off of whatever available resolution is on the device that is being used to visualize the screens. So you can create those SVGs directly in the editor that's within Operations Hub, or you can import them from an SVG editor of your choosing, and then you can work within Operations Hub to animate and edit, do final edits there for the interactivity and other things like that associated with these graphical elements. So there are two different ways to set up your screens. One of them is coordinate based. So wherever you drag, drop your and position your elements on the screen, that's where they're going to stay. If you set up, relative size by repositioning and rotating them, what have you, and then of course drawing the various different connecting elements between the dynamos, that's going to stay there just on a coordinate basis. So whether you're viewing it on a really large screen or a very small screen, it's going to stay at a relative size for each other. Now the Flexbox layout is the other way to do it as well, where this is great for some KPIs and maybe some other things as well too, but where it's not necessarily super important that it stays in the exact same location, but it's more important the visual experience. So obviously if you're using a vertical orientation screen like you would on your smartphone, typical scrolling type thing, you don't necessarily want to see everything horizontal, and then it's going to obviously give you huge black bars on your screen. So the Flexbox layout allows it to automatically slide and reposition elements there that would be key for a person viewing the relevant information to their position, in a way that's more conducive to the actual piece of equipment that they're viewing it on. So centralized management, and the major changes that we did here in the iFIX 2023 is we pulled the centralized, pulled this SCU settings into the centralized management journey by pulling it into Configuration Hub. So for every iFIX node that you actually add to Configuration Hub, you register with Configuration Hub, we have the ability to stretch down and reach into the settings from Configuration Hub centrally and do all the settings there as well. So everything that you would see normally associated with SCU settings are available here. So you can see here screen grab of kind of what you have available. So you can see your security areas, security groups. You can set all these. You can add them as well too in these various different nodes. You'll see on the left-hand side, we have multiple different SCADA nodes and one iClient as well too associated right now in this Configuration Hub architecture. So we added a new security area. You can go down to the alarms. You can add a new alarm area. And then you can go into the destination, see all those things that are relevant there, configuration. You can go to the clients. You can actually add a new client. And then that way, once you have that client added and you created that, you can actually go in and you can click on there and you can see which areas of security areas are associated with them. And if nothing is, you can go in here and select the ones that would be associated with this client and hit apply. Very simple. You can see there, highlighting there, some of the things, the database is all in there, the model approach is there. You have here under the node settings, your general environment settings, background settings, all the pictures that are associated with this project are all there. Anything that you set up from historian perspective is also set up there as well too. So really full project configuration there within Configuration Hub. And obviously the reason that this is a big deal is that you can have multiple iFIX nodes and all be able to set up those settings there within one area versus having to physically get up and go to the various different and or remote desktop into the various different iFIX nodes that are associated with your architecture. Now, okay, setting it up is great. Well, how about being able to deploy? Well, this is great because as well, what we did in the iFIX 2023 is not only can you set up all the settings, you can centrally manage and deploy settings, screens, tag groups, color tables, recipes, all those things like that can be done there within Configuration Hub. And you can deploy to multiple nodes from at the same time as well. So taking a look at this, you can go over to the little rocket ship and hit deploy. So you're going to deploy from SCADA 1, and you're going to see the available different nodes there. In this case, SCADA 2 is down, and Demo 3 is iClient is up. So you can go in here and you can select all 2,600 pictures or just select the few that you've made changes to. And then from here, you have those selections there. We actually allow for all the various different settings to be selected there, the tag groups, data, security groups that you want, and then you hit deploy. And there you go. It is moved and deployed from SCADA 1 to the iClient on Demo 3 there. And this is great because, well, I want to highlight one thing is that, okay, once you have deployed, it doesn't just go and automatically overwrite what's going on and running right now. So if you have to go and you have to finish publishing manually to the runtime. We do that. So this is a two-stage approach just to protect, again, what is happening, just in case there's some kind of mishap. But first stage is proxy authentication. So you set up who can even access this capability inherently within your project. So if somebody doesn't have access to it, they don't have the right credentials, they can't even get in here to begin with. Then second piece is by separating out the deploy versus the publish. It makes sure that if just in case they deploy to a node that wasn't supposed to be deployed to, that it doesn't overwrite anything that's happening right now in the runtime. So again, you can deploy to multiple nodes. Everything that you can set up there and all the different settings can be done there. You can deploy from a client development node to iFIX servers and vice versa, just depending again on your architecture. And you, again, going to multiple nodes from one place and at one time. So this is a tool that's it's designed to save you guys a lot of time in updating and streamlining these architectures there to support customer needs. So then, looking at the update process. This is also a big thing as well too, as we think more holistically about how we bring solutions and help you guys and your customers take advantage of these solutions as well, is the enhanced backup restore utility. So what we did here, the backup restore utility, very similar to what you had in the past, but you used to have to create a backup on whatever version of iFIX, and then you have to restore to the same exact version of iFIX. Now, with our backup restore utility enhancements, you can take an older version of iFIX, you can create a backup, whether that's a partial or full, and you can restore directly to a fresh iFIX 2023 node. The iFIX 2023 knows how to take advantage of that backup and update everything in the background to be able to run on iFIX 2023. So this ultimately is our first step to ultimately where we plan to go, where we will be able to do this centrally. But for right now, you have to use the backup and restore utility. But ultimately, the goal is to allow for easier upgrades on the various different iFIX nodes that you have in your customer facilities. So the other thing too, as well, we want to highlight some of the things that we've done here from a flexible deployment perspective, which is another one of our main focuses. We enhanced the failover experience here for enhanced failover for iFIX in 2023. So before we were relying on the UDP protocol, which is a great protocol. It's fast, it's lightweight, and for when we implemented it, it made perfect sense for the majority of the architectures that were there in the market. But today, there's a lot of push for geographic separation. There's also a lot of push for hybrid architectures where you have some on-premise and maybe backup in the cloud. So supporting TCP as a protocol became paramount. So bring TCP protocol into the available protocols for enhanced failover was the next step. So we added that. So it you have now TCP is a little bit heavier weight of a protocol, but it allows for packet loss detection and also packet retransmit inherently in the protocol. Because it's a little bit heavier weight, we had to add also packet compression to decrease the time it took to synchronize between various different databases on 2 different SCADA nodes. So during our test there, we tested, with our facilities in Schenectady and also in Foxborough, tested synchronizing a 65,000 tag database, and it took about 1.5 minutes without packet compression to about around 3 seconds with packet compression. Pretty standard overall architecture. It's nothing, we're transmitting over the internet, right? So nothing like a one wire running directly between the 2 facilities. It's just a typical standard thing that you would expect in the open market today. So ultimately the idea behind these things as well too, and we also allow for the selectability on how fast the synchronization happens, so that you can ultimately fine tune it for the application. So simplifying the architecture, eliminating the dedicated pair, the cable pair between the SCADAs that we needed to have with UDP. And then we also increasing the reliability between also adding TCP and also the selectability that we talked about just now, and then reducing the maintenance. So it was again, a major step forward for our cloud readiness approach that we have across our portfolio for enhanced failover. So last couple of items here before we open it up. So the MQTT bridge is the big thing that we're doing portfolio wide here. And so it stands for messaging, queuing, telemetry, and transport. So it is a fast, efficient, reliable, lightweight protocol, great for sending, various hosts of different information. Obviously supports a lot of cloud-based implementations. A lot of the smart sensors have MQTT support. It's great, but the big thing is once you transmit the information through MQTT, what about translating it out of an MQTT packet for being able to be used at the final end application? So we have an MQTT bridge here within our portfolio that translates MQTT data out to OBC UA that can be digested by the rest of our portfolio. So with this, we support MQTT v5, 3.11, and 3.1, as well as Sparkplug B and JSON payloads. So this is all done, this configuration, as you can see there in that screen grab, all in Configuration Hub. So really, Configuration Hub is the one area to configure everything and ultimately to deploy also as well from your architecture. So with that, I hope that gives you a highlight of the various elements in the 2023. I know this is a supplemental to the presentation that Jeremy sent out there earlier to you guys, but we wanted to open it up now as our office hours to be able to answer some questions that you guys may have around the 2023 update, and ultimately positioning you guys well for taking advantage of this in the marketplace.
Alec, thank you so much. Yeah, we actually have a good number of questions already. Some have posted into the comments today, and then we got a few in advance. And for those who didn't get the video that Alec just referenced, I can share that out. We had some last minute signups, so there wasn't an opportunity to share that. But for the folks who signed up in advance, we shared kind of like the full rundown on iFIX 2023 to help folks prepare. So we're going to start off with a few questions that we got in advance. This first one is from John, and it's about, it asks, will iFIX enhanced failover support the driver configurations, picture changes, pathing, and other configuration settings, or will it in the future?
Yeah. Hey, so Chad, you want to take that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so in the 2023 release, those configurations are not synchronized. Just basically the database and alarms, for example, or the things that you're used to today. Those we haven't added anything to those. Will it in the future? I think those are things that we can consider. One of the things I would recommend is, if you haven't had a chance to visit our ideas portal and vote and put in ideas there, that's a place where we kind of watch for the most sought after features. So I think it's something that we'd have to consider in the future. I will add that in the 2023 release, you saw that deployment feature. So depending on your use cases, the ability to move changed pictures that you make changes on and want to push out to multiple viewers, for example, that capability is there. It's not necessarily tied to enhanced failover, but having that capability to do it, push a picture out to multiple servers could help with some of the use cases you're thinking about here.
Yeah, I think I wanted to add, in addition to changes in pictures, I think the project capability added in 2023 also allows you to package the iFIX project or the iFIX application as a project. So all of your configurations, the paths that are defined as Alec kind of showed in Config Hub, all of those could be packaged as one project, and then as Chad mentioned, you can use the deployment tool to deploy it across your multiple nodes that you may have as part of the iFIX application.
All right, great question. And Chad, if you want to send me the link for that idea portal where people can find it, I can either post it in here or I can get it to folks later. I just want to make sure people can get to that because I think that's a good resource.
Yeah, I think you have to probably log in with your customer portal credential, but I can send you that link. Yeah,
at least get started. Yeah, that would be good. All right, so we'll go on to our next question that we got in advance. This one is another about how iFIX is going to mature in the future regarding LDAP integration, and will it be inclusive within the auto login for Windows domain users without having to create multiple SCU files, one for each user account?
I can probably take a crack at that one too.
Glad you're here.
I don't remember if it was in the presentation, but in our 2022 release, we tied iFIX to our common authentication feature or capability, which is called Prophecy Authentication. And our going forward roadmap for supporting LDAP will be through Prophecy Authentication, where you can set up LDAP providers, more than one if you need to, and SAML providers behind the Prophecy Authentication, and then iFIX will map its groups to those LDAP groups. And so going forward, enhancements to our LDAP integration will happen in that mechanism. The auto login is a feature that we'll be adding hopefully this year, to be able to tie the auto login. So when you start up iFIX, and so the goal that, at least the way I understand potentially doing this, is that when you log into Windows, that Windows user will be what gets passed through to auto login if you set it up that way. Today, like you say, I think you need to set up multiple for a particular user in a particular SCU to be the auto login, which is why you have to create those multiple SCUs. I think we'll see some enhancements come there as we continue to work with our prophecy authentication capabilities and enhance that over time.
Okay, cool, great answer. And all of these questions, just as a reminder, we can dig into these individually with you, offline. We're trying to get as detailed as we can, but we want to stick to our hour or less today. So if you want to talk about any of these answers in more in depth, get with me. We can get the right people and have a more in-depth conversation. So this next one is probably one that a lot of people are wondering. It's from Jim, and he's asking, so for people still on 5.8, that version, what's the recommended update path?
Yeah, so I think I can take this one here. I'd say for 5.8, if you have, we start with the iClients. So if you're trying to go all the way to, say 2023, obviously, which sounds like it's implied in the question. I would start with your iClients. Your iClients will need to be updated first, because in iFIX 6061, we added long tag names for scale. And so if you try to use old iClients with the new iFIX servers, it won't be able to communicate. So first update your iClients there at your customer facility, and then you can go ahead and update your iFIX nodes. So because of the fact that you can take, the backup restore utility, if you take an old, create a backup there of your 5.8, you could create that backup and then restore it to a 2023 node. So you could take a fresh new computing device, which I'm sure you're probably going to create a new fresh server for that, update that to, install directly iFIX 2023 to that, and then you can just do a restore to that 2023 node based off of the FBK file from 5.8. The audio there, Jeremy.
All right, thanks for that answer, Alec. I think that's one that probably is in a lot of people's minds. This next one we got in advance as well. This is specifically from a electricity provider, and they're asking, as the utility industry changes and we start to investigate things like automated distribution management systems, how is GE iFIX and Catapult's iPower plugin prepared to enter this space?
Sure, and I'll take this question, Jeremy. So, as you saw from Alec's presentation, either through the recording or he presented, we are moving more towards iFIX supporting a HTML5, a native HTML5 web-based UI, and that UI is not just limited to being an HMI. You can use that UI to create a connected worker experience. And by connected worker, for us, what it means is it supports a common context of the model that you would define. It supports driving that context across different personas. The tool that we use, which is our Operations Hub product for this HTML5 HMI, actually has interfacing to maps where you can actually look at, when you think about a ADMS system and you look at a geography of different assets that you are monitoring across your electric utility, you can look at outages based on the map. You can look at prioritization of where these outages are happening. What we are working on, and given the time, we can probably engage more in detail around some of the investments we are doing in the iFIX as well as our automation portfolio, which is adding analytics into the core SCADA system itself that will let you do some enhanced alarming versus the base alarming that we have, which can help you prioritize outages, help you kind of even look at causes as to why that outage might have happened and things like that, which will help in the overall ADMS kind of an approach to utility management. So those are some of the things that we are looking at. The iPower capability also does support some demand forecasting modules, and if that is of interest, we can probably engage and look at that if that is useful for you as well.
Cool. Another specific one. I love it for the individual industries. Those are the ones I think that are the most interesting, is when we know how people are looking at iFIX, using it, and how they want to see it, evolve in the future. And so, Chad, thanks for sharing that link. This is the link that Chad shared for the Idea Center. So people can go there, and I think you'll probably need some additional information, as Chad mentioned, to use that. But that's a good place to start to check that out. And I can send that up with follow-up materials as well. So it's at the bottom of the screen now. So we have some more questions, but please post some more today. Use these guys. It's a lot of expertise in the virtual room. So let's get the most out of it before we wrap up today. So another question actually from Jim is, does SVG mean iFIX is now like simplicity? How do graphics convert? You guys want to take that one on?
So maybe you go ahead, Chad, I'll add something to it.
Okay, so simplicity can, I believe, export to SVG, but under the covers, simplicity is not running SVG. It does do scalable graphics, of course, but in terms of conversion, I'm not sure if if the question is about converting an iFIX picture into maybe Prasad has some insight on that.
Yeah, I think the question, the context of the question is more around the ability to scale graphics, be more resolution independent and things like that, right? Which simplicity is a lot better when it comes to the graphics mobility versus iFIX. And yes, the HTML5 inherently will allow you to do that. So the answer to that is yes, definitely. You'll get a much more responsive performance out of your HMI graphics than what you get today. From an SVG conversion standpoint, as Chad kind of mentioned, both iFIX and Simplicity can export the graphics to SVG, and then this new HMI can import it in. But again, this is more of the graphical objects and the graphics. The challenge we are always going to face when we move from iFIX or Simplicity to moving into an native HTML5 graphical environment is going to be the scripting piece, which is where our version of HMI today that we will deliver in 2023 does not support scripting. At some that's planned for the next release, but unfortunately there is no scripting converter, so that's the piece that will have to be managed. But yes, the drawing will convert as you export it to SVG and bring it into OpSub. It's really the logic behind that you might have done in terms of events or background schedules and things like that. That's going to be the challenge.
And it's just like Prasad said, it's going to be depending on what type of things you're trying to achieve. So if it's just, scripting around navigation or opening and closing pictures and stuff like that, that's done inherently with Operations Hub on the HMI level. So that, of course, is not going to be a problem. You can get rid of the need for scripting in that, right? But it's event schedules and type of things like that in the background that would not be translated over today. So we have obviously part of our roadmap for this year in development for our 24 release to add some of the capability back. But that's where we are today.
All right, thanks for that, Alec and Prasad. Another question, we've gotten kind of a couple of versions of this asked, is so since it's a new version, is it already being installed, iFIX 2023, and kind of what's the status if somebody does want to make that move?
So we haven't had the installation of the final version yet, obviously, as it's not quite out yet. But that said, we do have a number of customers who have been working with us on various iterations of our beta as we've released those, and they've obviously had some great feedback, which has been implemented and pulled back into the final release. So, Chad, I know you've been heading up some of that, and you may be able to add additional color to that response.
No, I think that's it exactly. We've been able to get feedback from those who've been able to pick it up and use it, and shared a number of demos and got feedback, and hopefully.
The iFIX 2023 release is about, I think, three weeks away.
Yep.
from release. So it's not actually released. It'll be released in 3 weeks. Yeah.
That's why we're talking about it now, so that everybody
Yes.
can get all of the information and be prepared for when it is out there and ready to go. So another question was about VB scripting, and is it going away or is it going into the background?
So VB scripting, as it relates to workspace, is not going away, or simplicity workbench, that it doesn't go away. That's kind of the base of it. I think as we move to HTML5, yes, I mean, VB scripting is not going to work in a HTML5 client. So we are looking at a different scripting engine, a much more modern and a native, that supports a native web client, kind of a scripting engine as we move towards that space. But yeah, I mean, if you continue to run your graphics using Workspace, or if you use Simplicity and run Simplicity Workbench, then VB scripting and VBA still will continue to support it, and it'll still be there.
I know, Prasad, in office hours, you get questions all the time. And one of the things we were talking about before was just about Configuration Hub and how that works and kind of some of the pluses there. What are some questions that you're getting, outside of today about it that people might have, but, aren't sharing?
Yeah, I think, so one of the questions that we got was around the LDAP. So, there are two topics that are heavily discussed. One is the prophecy authentication piece that Chad mentioned in his answer for the LDAP configuration, and the other one is Configuration Hub. And a lot of the questions around Configuration Hub is how can an existing iFIX install that we have migrate into a model-based configuration into Config Hub, right? What's the path to go there? Or how do we configure a model in Config Hub? Are there what are the different elements of the model that can be used to configure iFIX, as an example? And as Alec kind of did a quick refresh on the configuration piece, we are now Config Hub is slowly becoming the centralized configuration tool. So with iFIX 2023, you can have the same model for iFIX Historian as well as the Operations Hub HMR. So you don't have to go create multiple models there. It'll be the same model context. And so that centralized configuration ability is what customers who are used to configuring iFIX from a flat tag environment are. It's a big step change. So that's where we get most of the questions. And I mean, Chad or Alec, based on questions or comments you might have got during the iFIX beta program, is there anything you wanted to share on?
Yeah, I would just say to that, Prasad, and I know we've discussed it as well too. We have part of our initiative for this year is to go through a configuration hub journey and map out some videos that highlight how to get things done, right? So as it is relatively new for many of our customers, we want to make sure that they can hit the ground running and feel confident as they start to employ the centralized management themes that that are so prevalent in our portfolio and going to be for obviously for the future. And so ultimately we want to make sure that people can take advantage of these capabilities, get to market faster, and ultimately address changing market needs in their space.
Absolutely. All right, let's go on to another question that we got from our live audience. Jimmy's asking, I assume 2023 is being tested on Win 10 and Win 11. If so, what have been the issues, if any issues, on Win 10 and or Win 11?
Yeah, I think we actually supported Win 10 and 11 in 2022 as well, and have tested those out, of course, in 2023. I'm not aware of any specific OS issues that we've had in iFIX versus anything else, right? I mean, of course, we've fixed lots of bugs and stuff, but none of them so far have really been tied to the OS. We are supporting Windows 2022 in the 2023 release. Or did we do that in 2022? I can't remember now.
Yeah, for the server, Windows Server, 2022. Yeah, we had that in 2022 release, as well.
Yep.
Cool. Good questions. I love it. So that actually covers most of our questions from today's audience. So if anybody wants to put one in kind of last minute, we can probably fit one more in, I think. But Prasad, do you touch on the points we've covered today?
Yeah, I think there's an interesting question there in the comments, one around our plan to do a new revision every year, and I think so. Yes, I think our goal is to get into a yearly cadence of releases, and one of the primary reasons to do that is the common components like prophecy authentication or the configuration hub component that we have been talking about. They are on a very agile kind of a release cycle of enhancing capabilities. And we want to ensure that all of the products in the prophecy portfolio, whether it's Historian, whether it is iFIX, Simplicity, everyone at the end of the year can align to those common components. That way we can all, work the same way, get configured the same way, support the same OS requirements. And that's been a big ask from, customers like you who use multiple of our products where they've complained about different user experiences, different supports for OSs and things like that. So we are trying to get into that cadence to make sure that all of our products support the same things every time we do a release.
Cool. So I'm just going to do one more sweep here, but I think we've covered pretty much everything that the audience has been curious about. So Alec, Chad, any final thoughts before we close out today?
No, I did see a question about data transfer via internet protected. I'm not sure what exactly that question is, but this prophecy authentication, is part of that whole sending across the right tokens, and so only the right people can do the right things. Of course, we're across HTTPS protocols, so it's all included.
Hey, Chad, I think that question was more related to MQTT because that question popped up when Alec was on the MQTT slide. So I'm assuming it was related to, how is MQTT secure? When we talk about MQTT being the chosen protocol to transfer data to the cloud, or what are some inherent security features built into that?
Yeah, so I'm not the MQTT expert, but I do know from looking at the feature that it is possible to put encrypted protection on there and provide a certificate and make sure it's encrypted across the line. So we are kind of adhering to the MQTT standards around those things.
Yeah, and I think this was a question from Jim, and Jim, from what I understand, and we are all, as we go down this MQTT path, we are all learning about MQTT as well. But at least what we have seen so far is the protocol in itself can have certificates embedded in it that that IT can enforce for data transfer, and it also has a source to destination encryption if needed. So that way, the destination kind of is trusted and recognizes the source that is sending the data, so that can be built into the packet itself. So that packet encryption is kind of built into MQTT. That protocol was made specifically from an IoT standpoint, so the IoT sensors could take data, and is a lightweight protocol to send data to the cloud. So that's what we have seen. Again, we have just started dabbling into it, so we'll learn more about it as well.
Great questions. I don't know, Prasad, what do you think? I think Office Hours is a success. We got some inquiries today.
Yeah, I think I would like to, again, if folks are still on, what do you think about this format where, we kind of do a quick refresh and then open it up for you folks to ask us questions. In fact, if you like it, we could probably pick a specific topic, like Jeremy mentioned, Configuration Hub. And, we could just do a deep dive on Configuration Hub and, just take questions, or maybe do the ops of HMI as so.
Yeah, if there's a topic that you guys want to hear about, post it in the comments right now. Say, just say hello. Say, this works. This is a good format. I like the office hours thing. We want feedback. You'll get some survey as well afterward, but it's always nice to hear when we have people live, talking about this stuff to get the feedback from the audience. So got a couple of thank yous and thumbs up and stuff. So we appreciate everybody participating. And if you want to, dig in deeper to any of this stuff, just visit us at GrayMatterSystems.com. And as soon as you get there, there's a start a project button. That's the best way to get in touch with the right folks. I'll see it. And, we can always pull in Prasad or Alec or Chad, if it's something real specific to what we talked about today, and get into it. And, we'll do more of these in the future. I'm getting thumbs up. I appreciate it, guys. Yeah. Lets us know you're out there and listening. And Bob says he likes the idea of a deep dive. I like that too. We do get really in detail with our colleague Greg Hazel, who is an expert on iFIX and many other GE products. And we have a series called Empower Up Live, and we do them every month. And we have one scheduled for later this month. So under that training page that I shared earlier, that's where you can sign up for that. We take about an hour, and Greg actually does a live screen share. I don't know how much more of a deep dive it could be, and he'll show you how to build things in iFIX. He'll show you how to build things in Ops Hub. It's a step-by-step process. He talks you through it. He does it live, and it's amazing because he knows the stuff so well. So we're getting some claps, some thumbs up. Thanks, Neil. Appreciate it. Good to hear you guys. And I know some people just like to tune in and watch. I do that too. But the participation is always awesome. So it just helps folks know that what we're doing is helpful to you. So if it is, let us know in the survey. Hit us up at the Starter Project on GrayMatterSystems.com. We'll keep doing these. I think we'll do more office hours in the future, guys, if you guys are into it.
Yeah, it seems like we've got all thumbs up. So
yeah, I'm taking the claps and the thumbs up to mean we should keep doing it. Yeah. Sometimes engineers aren't the wordiest folks, and I get that. So I'll take an emoticon if that's what works. I totally understand that. So, all right. Well, Chad and Alec and Prasad, thank you so much for joining us today. We'll be able to make a recording of this available as well to those who asked that question. Happy to share it out. So if you want to review anything that we talked about, we can do that, no problem. So thanks, guys. I'll see you soon. Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Bye-bye.
Everybody.
Yeah. Bye.